Kamala Harris's first solo network interview as 2024 candidate. MSNBC exclusive. Right, full disclosure, I'm kind of rushing this video because I'm convinced that they're going to leave this up for about an hour. Realise that the general public doesn't like listening to inane commie gibberish when the presidential candidate is trying to pretend to answer questions. Softball questions from a friendly interviewer. So we're going to have to do this quick. Let's get into it. Let's see just how dense, irrevocably dense, because you could lock her in a room with Stephen Hawking for 10 years and she'd still walk out of it as thick as whale spunk. She's not just dense, she's irrevocably dense. So we're going to watch this interview and we're going to laugh at it. All right, trust me, you'll enjoy yourself. She's a plank. Okay, let's start with a nice easy softball question to open with, eh? Surely she's not going to screw this bit up, is she? The very beginning of the interview?
Madam Vice President, you just laid out your economic vision for the future. Yeah. But still, there are lots of Americans who don't see themselves in your plans. For those who say these policies aren't for me, what do you say to them?
Well, if you are hardworking, if you have the dreams and the ambitions and the aspirations of what I believe you do, you're in my plan. You know, I have to tell you, I really love and am so energized by what I know to be the spirit and character of the American people. We have ambition, we have aspirations, we have dreams. We can see what's possible. We have an incredible work ethic, but not everyone has the access to the opportunities that allow them to achieve those things. But we don't lack for those things. But
what was that, Cammy? What was that? If Tim Walter's backstage, he must be like that, chewing his fist. Old Footface has got the IQ of a pull-along duck. She really is as light as a Candyman's balloon. I've never seen such a bad answer to such a softball question in my life. And as shocking as it sounds, the whole interview is like that. I'm not going to subject you to the whole thing because it will leave you wanting to rip your own head off in frustration and throw it out the window. But that's it all the way through. Just buzzwords, gibberish, and lots of ands. And Americans have dreams, and Americans have aspirations. Humans have dreams and aspirations, you silly mare. I really do feel as if I was doing a disservice to whale spunk at the start of this video. She's not as thick as whale spunk. She's as thick as aggressively dehydrated whale spunk. If you dragged a whale out of the ocean, beached it for 12 hours, and then rigged it to some elaborate contraption approximating a whale treadmill for 2 days, and then forcibly pulled it off, had it jizz on a hot stone and then left it in the middle of the Sahara Desert for a week to go all crusty. She's as thick as whatever you're left with. And Trump's not a genius. It's not like he's the best speaker in the world. But compared to her, the bloke's like Winston Churchill. Well, orange Winston Churchill.
Over the last 4 years, there have been tremendous economic wins. And you've just laid out a big plan. But still, polling shows that most likely voters still think Donald Trump is better to handle the economy. Why do you think that is?
Well, here's what I know in terms of the facts. Donald Trump left us with the worst economy since the Great Depression. When you look at, for example, the employment numbers, how he lost auto plants. We have grown over 20 new auto plants. He has an agenda. Let's just deal with it right now going forward, not to mention what happened in the past.
Let's just deal with that right now going forward, not to mention what happened in the past. Did you see, in fact, we'll pause it on the interviewer's face. Did you see her after the response to the last question? Yeah, there. That's when the penny dropped, 2 minutes in. That's when she goes, I'm talking to a lump of balsa wood with tits. Might as well be a house brick with a wig on. I'm doing my best. I'm throwing you softball questions. You're not answering them. You're just giving me buzzwords and commie gibberish. Please tell me something useful, Kamala. And then she gave her that. Gobbledygook. Just gibberish. I'd rather be trapped in a brewery for 24 hours and Bill Cosby was the bartender than listen to Kamala Harris talk for 10 seconds. But for the good of the channel and your entertainment, I shall endure it just a wee bit more.
Then let me ask you about taxes, because lots of people will say, I don't like Donald Trump, but he cut my taxes. He didn't just cut corporate taxes, he cut individual taxes. Now that expires next year, and there's some people confused saying, I don't know what's going to happen next year. Under a Harris administration, at what income level should someone expect their taxes to go up? And that state and local tax deduction that's currently capped and matters to a lot of people in blue states, are you going to lift that cap?
So first of all, when it relates to anybody making less than $400,000 a year, your taxes will not go up. But we're going to have to raise corporate taxes, and we're going to have to make sure that the biggest corporations and billionaires pay their fair share. That's just it. It's about paying their fair share. But everyone should pay their fair share, and it is not right.
Saw the words fair share about 8 times in 2 sentences. Fair share. Fair share. That's a non-answer. It's because she doesn't know anything and she can't count. She could give Diane Abacus a run for her money. I'd be amazed if she even has the mental acuity to work a calculator, let alone do any sums on it. So she just keeps saying fair share, because she's a liar. She said at one point she's going to cut everyone's taxes if they're making less than $400,000 a year, but she's not going to raise taxes on anybody else. She'll just make sure rich people pay their fair share, but when you actually try and do the maths, it doesn't make any sense. So she's just spewing word salads into the sky and hoping for the best. Fair share, fair share. What about if you think fair share is you, government harpy, keeping your grasping, well-manicured fingernails off my money? That's a fair share. A fair share to me is 0 when you didn't do anything. They even tax eBay now. Try and buy something on eBay in California. I don't know how it works in the UK. They stick their oar in. If some bloke down the street wants to sell me a lamp that he's used for a couple of years, and I go, all right, mate, I'll give you $10 for that. Why, when I hand him the money, is some privileged, overpaid, shit-for-brains communist suddenly hovering on his shoulder going, yeah, where's my $2? What's it got to do with you, you lying, long-faced sack of rats? What's it got to do with you? I think fair share's 0, so are we settling on 0? Or are you just throwing nonsense into the airwaves? Because you haven't got any answers at all. Yeah, probably that last one, innit?
And one of the main problems are regulations and rules, strict rules at a local level. How does the federal government cut through all that red tape and get down to, the suburbs of Pittsburgh and say, we're going to have to build some affordable housing here? How do you connect the two?
So you're absolutely right. So across our country, people rightly are concerned about the cost of housing. So it's home ownership, to your point. We need more supply. It includes also what we must do to cut red tape. You're absolutely right. It takes far too long, and there's too much bureaucracy associated with home building. And I say that as a devout public servant. I know that we have to reduce the red tape and speed up what we need to do around building.
A devout public servant. A devout self-servant. Self-serving scum. And she didn't answer the question at all. She just keeps repeating the same word. Oh yeah, we'll build more houses. We definitely need to build more houses. Yeah, got to do that. You've been in charge for 4 years. Why didn't you build more houses if you knew you needed to? You're just bluffing, aren't you? She's a bluffer. No answers, no solutions, just word soups, gibberish and bluffs. Devout public servant. Jeffrey Dahmer served the public better than Kamala Harris. Because when he was a teenager, he mowed a few lawns. He did more for the general public than she has. And I don't want Jeffrey in charge.
Some of the work is going to be through what we do in terms of giving benefits and assistance to state and local governments around transit dollars, and looking holistically at the connection between that and housing, and looking holistically at the incentives we in the federal government can create for local and state governments to actually engage in planning in a holistic manner.
And she looks satisfied with that answer. She used the term holistic and holistically 3 times in 30 seconds. The only time I had heard the term holistically, prior to listening to Kamala Harris and the lefty arseholes that have started using buzzwords constantly over the last couple of years, was in about 1988 when I read the comic The Modern Parents. Remember that amusing satire of woke people before woke was even a thing? And they always used to say holistically. Oh yeah, holistic feng shui for my vegan shagging palace. Like it's a new word she's heard, and she's like, oh, that sounds clever. If I just say we'll do it holistically a lot, that sounds like I've got a plan. When you haven't. You got an head full of fresh air, love. But I can't show you the whole thing because I'll end up getting the video get pulled because they don't like you to share these things, do they? But the short version is I'll hack and slash and get it and get it on YouTube, even if it's a cut down version, just so you can see some of the highlights. Because the woman is totally vacuous. She is an empty vessel. Hillary Clinton, I seriously mean this, for all of her flaws, Hillary Clinton was clever. Hillary Clinton could speak. I disagreed with her politics. I think she's like some sort of evil genius, power mad, tyrannical, and somewhat evil, but she was clever. She could talk. This woman is a log. That's how bad she is. When Hillary Clinton dies, stuff her, just splay her fingers like that, with a nice evil look on her face, stuff her, put her in the Oval Office, use her as a novelty hat stand, and she'll still be of more use to the general public than living Kamala Harris. That's how bad she is. Okay, that's all I've got to say about her. She's got a long, wrinkly, bony face, like a foot, and she's got a head full of horse shit. Even if you don't like the Orange Oracle, hold your nose, vote for Donald Trump, support Donald Trump. He's not perfect by any means necessary, but he's all we've got. He's all that stands between us and being lauded over by a lettuce with a necklace on. Okay, that's all I've got for you today, ladies and gents. I've got work to do. Thanks for tuning in. Like and share it if you can be bothered, and I'll see you all very soon. Thanks for tuning in. See you later. Cheers.